Hello, everyone. Hello, Heaven said. Hello, Quinn. I'm glad. I'm glad to see you're here. I'm glad you're here. Today our subject will be the supernatural, and we're going to start with a spooky story that I always like to read in my book of spooky stories. That I have here. I'm going to have to get a new one. I just new book because some of these are getting kind of outdated, I guess. So I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm gonna. This is one piece by piece. Okay, give me just a minute, and I'm gonna find a good one that I think will be one that you all will enjoy. Okay, 160. Okay, okay. Okay, I'm gonna start right now. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. This was called tail lippo. If I got that right, yeah, tail lippo. Yeah, okay, tail lippo. Here we go. Excuse me. Way back in the woods of Tennessee lived an old man and his three dogs, Uno, Ino, and Tico Calico. They lived in a small cabin only with one room. The room was their parlor and their bedroom and their kitchen and their sitting room. They had one giant fireplace. The old man cooks supper for himself and his dogs every night. One night, one night, while the dogs were snoozing by the fire, and the old man was washing up, washing up after his supper, a very curious creature crept through a crack between the logs of the cabin. The old man stopped washing his plate and started and stare at the creature. It had a round body, it had a rather round body, and the longest tail you ever did see. Oh, let me see. Okay, okay, let me get out of here. Let's see. Hi, can you hear me now? Does it sound better now? Does the audio sound better now? Put a one in the chat if it sounds better. All right, cool. One night while the dogs were sleeping by the fire, and the old man was washing up after his supper, A very curious creature crept through a crack between the logs of the cabin. The old man stopped washing his plate and started to stare at the creature. It had a really round body and the longest tail you ever saw. As soon as the old man saw the merman varmint invading the cozy cabin, he grabbed his hatchet block. He cut off its tail. The creature gave a startled squawk, squeak, and raced back through the crack in the logs. Excuse me. Besides the fire, the dogs grumbled a bit more over, ignoring the whole thing. The old man picked up a very long tail. There was some good meat on that tail, so he roasted it over the fire. Compiko Calico woke up when she smelled the tail cooking and begged for a bite. After the old man had his first taste, he couldn't bear the part of a single mouthful. Compatico Calico grumbled and lay back down to sleep. Chico Calico was one of the old man's dogs. He had three dogs, and she was a sheep. The old man was tired, so he finished washing up and went to bed. He hadn't even been sleeping too long when a thumping noise awoke him. It sounded like an animal was climbing up the side of the cabin. He heard a scratch, a scratch, scratch, scratchy noise like the claws of a cat, and then a voice rang out of tail lipple, out went my tail lipple. The old man sat upright in bed. He called up the dog. He called up to the dogs, hut hut, like he did when they were hunting. Uno and Eno jumped immediately and began barking mad. Cotico Calico got up slowly and started stretching. She was still mad at the old man for not giving her a bite of the tail. The old man sent the dogs outside. He heard them trying to climb the cabin walls after the creature. It gave a squeal, and he heard a thump as it jumped to the ground, and it raced away, the dogs chasing it down the back of the cabin and deep into the woods. Much better, he heard the dogs return and lay down under the lean, under the attached, under the attached to the cabin. The old man relaxed then and went to back to sleep. Along about midnight, the old man woke with his heart pounding madly. He could bear, he could hear something scratch, scratch, scratching night above his cabin door. Felipo, Felipo, at all I want like Felipo, the voice was chanting rhythmically against the steady scratch, scratch, scratch at the top of the door. The old man jumped, yelling, hut, 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 to his dogs. They started barking wildly, and he heard them race around the corner of the house from the lean. He saw them catch up the shadowy something at the gate in front of them of the of the cabin. The dogs almost tore the fence down, trying to get it. Finally, Cupatico Rico leaped it onto a stump and over the fence. Uno and Uno on her heels, and he heard them chasing the creature way down into this big swamp. The old man sat for a while, listening to the dogs to return. About 3 in the morning, he finally fell asleep again. Toward daybreak, but while it was still dark, the old man was weak again by the sound of a voice. Oh, thank you, Florencia Bullet. Toward daybreak, the old man sat up for a while, listening for the dog to return. About 3 in the morning, he finally fell asleep again. And he fell asleep again. Toward the daybreak, and while it was still dark, the old man was awakened again by the sound of a voice coming from the direction of the swamp. You know, I know all. I want my Talipo. The old man broke out in a cold sweat and yelled, "Hut, hut!" for his dogs. But the dogs didn't find answer, and the old man feared that the creature had lured them unto them, had lured them down into a big swamp to kill them. He got out of bed and barricaded the door. Then he hid under the covers and tried to sleep. When it was light, he was going to take his hatchet and his gun and go find his dogs. Just before morning, the old man was waking from a full double by a thumping sound, light up the cabin. Something was climbing the covers at the foot of his bed. He peered over the covers and saw two pinned ears at the end of the bed. He could hear scratch, scratch, screaming sound as the creature climbed up the bed, climbed up the bed, and into that moment he was looking into the two big round fairy eyes. The old man wanted to shout for his dogs, but he couldn't make his voice work. He shivered as the creature crept up the bed toward him. It was large and heavy. He could feel its sharp claws pricking him as it walked up his body. When it reached his face, it bent toward him and said in a low voice, "Talipo, tail lipo, tail lipo. I want my tail lipo." At once the old man found his voice, and he yelled, "I ain't got your tail lipo." And the creature said, "You have." And it grabbed the old man in its claws and tore him to pieces. The next day, a trapper came across the old man's dogs wandered aimlessly on the other side of the swamp. When the trapper brought the dogs back to the log cabin, he found the old man dead. All that remained were a few scraps of clothing and some grisly bones. As the trapper buried the old man, he heard a faint chuckling sound coming from the swamp. The boy said, "Now I got my tail ripple." When they heard the boy's dog turned tail and ran for their life. There's nothing left of the old cabin now except the stone chimney, chimney. Folks who live nearby don't like to go there at night because when the moon is shining brightly and the wind blows across the swamp, sometimes you can still hear a voice saying, "Tell little, tell little." Yes, well, it looks like the old man found a little creature, you know, and he ate it. And then one of the creature's parents, whether it was mom or dad or somebody, wanted back his son, his Filippo, was the creature. And the old man had no idea what he was talking about, what the creature wanted. But in reality, the creature wanted the creature wanted to kill the old man. And he actually ended up, killing him at the end. You know. Yep, that's from the state of Tennessee. Well, let's see. Well, that was one tale that really I think this is scary. I mean, these two. I mean, you hear, in campfires and grandpas will tell you stories like that. Um, I heard many tales like I heard many stories like that, but this was it's kind of unusual because the creature and they're looking for him, get him back, you know, to get back his, he was. But there's a lot of stories in Tennessee and in the South about creatures. In South Carolina, there's a story about a fact that happened in 1988 where there was this young man who was walking home from work, and he claimed he was attacked by some sort of lizard man. And I think it's some in the woods of like South Carolina, north of South Carolina, I'm not sure. And there's one called the Wampus creature. I think it's in Kentucky. And there's several legends. And there's also you have the Jersey Devil up in New Jersey. And we have one in New York State called Ogo Pogo. And we also have the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. Okay, we'll talk about that one some other time. And you also, here in America, we've got Sasquatch and many other mythical creatures. Okay. And in a few minutes, I'm going to put the link. But I want to keep telling more stories about creatures and ghosts. And I love the story. I think it was my grandfather and my aunts used to tell me as a kid one story. But I'll tell you one story that really, um, well, I heard as a kid. Um, well, I didn't hear it as a kid, but I heard it later on. There was this girl that lived in my hometown of Tijuana. Her name was Henrietta. Henrietta in English. This was around the late 20s. She, her family was quite an influential family in the town of Tijuana, Mexico. And in those days, it was a very booming town because it was a height of the prohibition in the United States, and there was a lot of money coming in, revenue coming in from American tourists, coming to Tijuana to drink because as we all know, in 1929, it was illegal in the United States to drink alcohol, alcohol, and like that. And and the city was booming at the time, because of that, because of the prohibition time. People could go out and get drunk, illegally without getting in trouble, without getting in trouble in the U.S. So okay, that's one story. So this girl and the kid falls in love with a gentleman who was a young man, and the young man was from a working class family, and Henrietta was from a very affluent family in town. They lived around downtown Tijuana. That's around I think it was Fifth Street. I think they live on Fifth Street, which is or Fourth Street. I'm not sure. I think it was Fifth Street, yeah, which is a neighborhood that I know very well. Going to the movies there as a kid to the theater there, that same street, which I will tell you later. The father found out uh, about the boy, and he said, "You're not going to see that boy again because he's not from your class. He's a bum." It was a poor bum. What can he offer you? But the daughter said to her dad that she loved this boy, that she wanted to marry him. And the father was just furious. He says, if you go out and see him, I'm going to lock you in your room until you finally come to your senses, girl. Okay? The girl disobeyed. And the father locked her in the room. The girl got so depressed, and wrote a suicide note, which said that one day I will come back. And she said and the suicide note was how that she loved her, her boyfriend very much, but that one day she was going to leave this world and one day come back. And she died. And go back to the story a little bit. The parents got a little bit suspicious when they found out how come she's not coming out, how come she's not coming out to have dinner, or how come you didn't let her go out? I don't know. The father said so. They went to the room, and the girl was uh, was was so dehydrated they couldn't breathe because of the dehydration. And they went out to call the doctor, and the father so so sad and so heartbroken of seeing her daughter dying from dehydration and hunger and all this, told her, "What do you want? I'll do anything you want, please." And she said, "Dad, I want to marry the man I love very much." And the father said, "No way, no." So they brought the doctor in, and the doctors couldn't save her, and she passed away. She was buried in a cemetery called the First Cemetery White Door, Puerta Blanca Cemetery. Um, she was buried there. Some some 23 years later, in 1952, this young man was coming from work on his way home. He had just gotten up. No, wait a minute. He was coming home from the movies. Just got off the bus, and and he went past the cemetery was around the same way where he lived at that time. He was walking by, and this mysterious girl came and told him, uh, "I'm afraid to walk home alone. Can you walk me home?" And that. And back then, people were very trustworthy. They were like that. So the guy said, "Sure, let's go. I'll walk you home." As it was dark, okay. They go home. They start walking. You know, a block. About 2 blocks, and he reached the cemetery's gate. And he says, "Well, okay, this is yeah, I live. This is your home." The guy told, "Yes, I live here." Oh, okay, 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 okay. Well, okay, I'll leave you. The guy said, "Well, I'll leave you here. Tomorrow. I have to wake up early. I got to work." Okay, bye bye. So as the young man was trying to leave, He, the girl, grabbed him, grabbed him, grabbed him, and he said to her, the girl, "Hey, what are you doing? I gotta go. Let me go. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let me go." I mean, it was just, the girl had this restraint of like 20 men or something, and they didn't let him go. What are you doing? And the young man got so scared, he got with fear and frustration. The young man, he just he just passed out. And when he woke up the next day, he noticed there was people looking at him. And some people were looking and saying, "Look, man, some drunk guy, man, fell asleep here and passed out." And when he woke up, he went home. He told his story to his family members, what he saw, what had happened to him. The guy got so freaked out that he packed his bags and went back home to his hometown, never to return again. And heard from since, never to return again, and never to return. Mhm. And also, same story, around downtown Tijuana, there was a cab driver running one night. He was very tired that day, and he said, "Oh God, I wish today business, I wish I could have a lot of business this week." And this strange little girl came to him, wearing like a wearing like a wedding dress, and she told him, "Can you drive me here to this address?" "Oh yeah, sure, come right up." When they got to the cemetery door, the girl said to him, uh, and and this cab driver told her, "Hey, it's very cold tonight. Are you sure you're you're okay? Okay. Let me see. Let me tell you this. I'm gonna give you my jacket, okay? Okay, and okay, you don't have to worry. Okay, I'll buy another jacket. Okay? Yeah. No, no, don't worry, don't worry. You'll get your jacket. Just go to this address tomorrow. Go to Third Street and Street, Mutualismo Street. Go there and go to the street, and that's where I live." "Oh, okay, okay, okay. I'll go there." The next day, the cab driver knocked the door, and this elderly man answers the door and says, "Yes, could I help you? Hey, is this the home of King Enriqueta here?" "What do you mean?" The old man said, "Yeah, no, Enriqueta, no, man. What are you talking about? That was my daughter. She died more than 20 years ago." And the cab driver said, No way. I met her last night. She said she was going to give my coat here." No. And you get her, what you're saying. It's my daughter. She died 20 years ago. She died more than 20 years ago. Okay, okay. And the young man goes, and the old man tells him to come in to the living room, and he noticed an old picture right there hanging of the dead girl. And the old man tells him to you talk to my dead daughter who's been dead for more than 20 years. More than 20 years. And the cab driver got so scared. He went to the cemetery and he told the caretaker of the cemetery that he was looking for, that he wanted to go into the cemetery because he wanted to look for this. And the caretaker said, "What are you talking about? You're not coming in here." Okay. Yes, yes. And and the cab driver ended up bribing the caretaker, and he went over there to the gravesite. And in the gravesite, he saw his his jacket he had thrown there, right there, all clean and not a single wrinkle or mud stain or something. Mud stain. Yes, it was horrible. Oh yes, and the guy was so scared that he needed psychiatric help, and the psychiatric told him, "You better start working nights." And that's a story. But let me tell you something. You know the picture I have here on my live stream, that church right there. Okay, that church is located about a block and a half from where the man visited visited the girl's father. Now the place where the house was located, it is now a parking lot. The house was no, it was torn down like in the what I heard. It was like torn down like in the 90s. What I heard, but now it's a parking lot. Yeah, that church right there. That's Saint Francis of Assisi Church. That church was that church is really it's pink. Like an elephant. Well, it has a pink. Oh, and guess what? And guess who visited that cemetery in one of her live streams? And she live streamed from there. Rosie O'Kelly visited that cemetery, and if you go to her channel, you can find that video where she is sitting at the gate of that same cemetery. In the cemetery I'm referring to the story. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, Heaven sent yes. Yeah, there's a lot of stories about that in my town of Tijuana, Mexico. A lot of legends, a lot of legends. There's just one about there's just one. Oh, let's see. There's just one about the girl that danced with the devil. This happened like in '73. I will get into that story some other time. But yes, if you go to her live, if you go to her channel, you can find the video there. Yeah, she took it about I think it was about a month ago where she live streamed it, and I was so amazed, and I was so grateful to her because I told her, hey, you're walking the same streets that I walked as a little boy when my mom took me to the dentist, and where we went where I went to the movies as a kid because I came here in '78. That's when I came here to live here in '78, I've been here ever since. I have lived here, but I have lived here before, but not permanently. I was just going to school and going across the border home on the weekends. But finally, like in '78, I finally settled down here. So maybe permanently around this was like in August of that year, '78. I settled down here, and then yeah, 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 a lot of stories, a lot of these great stories. Well, I'm gonna put the link right now. If anybody comes up here and the link. Oh, first, the link I put there. It's of a Twitch uh, um, stream. That's from a friend of mine who has a radio show on Twitch. Radio show starts like it starts like around 45 minutes, It's a radio show of music of oldies music, old school, R&B jams. Yeah, I'm gonna pin it right now. It's gonna make a matter to life. Okay, I pinned it already. Yep. Anybody wants to come up and share any stories you might have, feel free to come. Come if you have any stories. Come up and share any stories. Any stories? Yeah. Well, I could tell more if I'll tell you more. Okay. Well, okay. This is a funny story. Long ago, in my hometown, and not my hometown, but it's my grandma was born. My maternal grandma was born down in Sinaloa, Mexico. Sinaloa, where all the well, I've heard up in the news, where all the cartels are from. Well, that's where my mom was born, my grandfather was born, and a lot of my brothers and sisters were born there. But not being I was born in Tijuana. Well, long ago, in the village of this Cuinapa de Hidalgo, Sinaloa, a place that I still go there, and I have lots of friends there. There was this old lady named, I think her name was Maria, and kids will go to her house on certain days, maybe like on the weekends. I'm not sure, but it was they were, neighborhood kids would go into her house, and the lady would tell them ghost stories, at night. And when she finished telling the stories, the kids will run, and the kids will run home, and the kids would run like hell home. Like they just ran the 100-meter dash. Oh, okay, Heaven Sent. Good evening. All right, Heaven Sent. Have a good night, Heaven Sent. And thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, Heaven Sent. Very much. You have a great evening, Heaven Sent. Love you, girl. Bye. Yep, that's what it was. I tell you, yeah, kids will run away. Yes. Sometimes I'm telling these stories about myself, and I feel like I'm a character from a little soap opera that my mom was watching when I was a kid. I was a little boy, and my mom was watching television. We were watching this old Mexican soap opera. This is a story I have never told anyone. This happened to me a long time ago. And there was this, in the soap opera, there was this woman, this elderly woman, walking down in the house, talking to herself. You know, like she would go in the house, she would walk, stare at the old china lamps or anything that she saw. Just talk to herself. And my mom would tell me. And I told my mom, what is that? I told my mom, oh, she's an evil witch. She's a witch. Oh my God, that really freaked me out. And to this day, I'm still scared. I'm still scared, believe it or not. I never told the story to no one until now. I tell you, I never told that to no one. I never told that to no one. And I'm really scared. Yeah, the story. Yeah.